Hi, I'm Katie Kempner, and we're here at Advertising Week Europe, and this is Perspectives. Perspectives is a series of inspiring conversations with remarkable working women who are leading busy and successful lives. And right now, it is my pleasure to welcome back Pippa Glucklich. I said that wrong. I said that right. Close enough.
Glucklich, it's fine.
CEO of Starcom. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me back again.
Oh no, please. Thank you so much for stopping by. I know you've had a very busy week here.
I have indeed. It's been a great week though. Really enjoyed it.
So the week started out, and one of the very first things was this big panel with you.
Well, it was myself and 5 other women. It was called Wired Women. It was 9 o'clock on Monday morning. So first up on the ITV stage, quite a big stage.
No pressure.
But it was great actually. Amazing women to share, have conversation with. It was chaired by the women's editor of The Telegraph. Scilla Snowball from AMV was on it, Mel Scott from Mail Online, Susan who's the Global Creative Officer of FCB.
Susan Creedle.
I couldn't remember her surname, yeah. So, and Nadine Young from Blue 449. So a really nice, enjoyable panel talking about diversity, talking about how to change things, what do we think about quotas, role models, lots of really good conversation. I have to say, I don't know what everyone else thought, but I really enjoyed it.
Well, diversity is something that is talked about a lot in the US in the industry, quite a bit, and always with kind of, we're going to fix it, but it doesn't get fixed because many reasons. Is that the same issues that are here, and what were some of the things that came out of that?
So yes, it is the same issues that are here, and one of the big conversations that's been going on for the last few years is should we have quotas? So there are some markets, so for example in Norway they've introduced quotas, and in France they've introduced I think it's by the beginning of next year, a sort of target which will become a quota. So we talked a bit about that and had a debate. So my view is I don't agree with quotas because I think it can kind of be positioned as tokenism and also lack of meritocracy. So I think the real way to change the game is to win hearts and minds of people. It's going to take longer for sure, but I think one of the things we're doing in our industry, and our industry in the communications is better than a lot of industries, particularly better than finance and retail and so on in terms of senior leadership positions that are female, but it's still not good enough. So just to throw a few statistics at you, in agency land, 57% of entry level into the industry are women. Yet by the time you get to leadership positions, there's only 25%. So clearly something's not right. So what we're doing as an industry is we have got targets which are around diversity at every single level. And not just gender diversity, but diversity of ethnicity, sexuality, every level of diversity. So we know where we are at the moment. So the target by 2020 for gender diversity is to have 40% of positions at every level held by women. And obviously the senior one is the big challenge. So, but there was an interesting debate on the panel about some people were more in favour of quotas because the change is much slower. And another really interesting topic of conversation was what Emma Barnett, who's fabulous women's editor of The Telegraph, as I mentioned, what she calls nice guy misogyny. So sexism that exists at the moment is not, kind of pinching people's bum and wolf whistling. It can be a bit more subtle than that. So we talked a bit about that and how, for men and for women, unconscious bias around diversity. So gender is diversity. We're all men or we're women, but diversity, different ethnicities, religions, sexualities, and so on is another level on from that. So obviously, gender diversity we have to crack that, but we have to crack all of it. So I think having targets, but it's slow going. I think as much as anything, highlighting what the issues are and talking about it. And helping one another to deal with it and recognise that we all have bias one way or another.
And that's how we can affect change. Now, I remember leading into the same thing, I remember from our conversation last year, and it's late in the day, but I don't want to pronounce this wrong and is it Whacko?
Yes.
And you you're very involved with them, aren't you?
I am indeed. I'm currently Vice President of Whacko, and so in July I become President.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm quite scared about it, but just delighted and excited because it's a fabulous club and doing some amazing things. And one of our parts of our constitution is around inspiring young women, but also around flagging and shining a light on issues such as sexism, lack of diversity and so on. So we've been quite active. In fact, there was an event on Monday lunchtime which was all around how do we encourage women to speak up and to have a voice much more. It was a great session.
Can I ask what, like, a takeaway or two from there? How to encourage women to speak up and have a voice?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's the role model is one part of it, and I think it's helping women have something. So I think as women, and I'm maybe generalising a bit, we quite often feel like we have to have all the answers. We have to have 80% of the answer, and encouraging women to say, I don't know, is okay. And particularly around Speak Up, which is our theme for this year, is saying, okay, have one thing that you're able to talk about, be that a specialism around content or data or something much broader like diversity or just leadership or something. So have that and to encourage women to get involved and to have the conversation. And the other side of that is also to shine a light on conference organisers, journalists, people organising platforms or panels to really seek out women. And there are less senior women, but it doesn't have to be senior women. So there were lots of really good takeaways. The panel, we had the CEO of EasyJet, Carolyn McCall, who's a member of Whacko. We had the editor of Grazia. So it was a really fascinating session.
So talking about speaking up and voices, this might be a very bizarre segue, but I remember last year we had an interesting conversation talking about the little devil on your shoulder and when it tells you can't do something when you should be able to. Has that come up for you at all, lately, and is it sort of changed?
So yes, it's always there, unfortunately. Interesting, actually, one of the things I've been thinking about lately, partly through something I read relatively recently, is how we're always told, try and turn that voice down, try and turn the volume down, which I have tried to do. But actually, I read something quite recently around how it can make you more driven, and actually, you need to kind of try and harness it in a positive way. But actually, it can be quite helpful.
Really?
And I think self-awareness is a really good thing. So I'm trying to embrace it much more. It has lately around the whole Speak Up theme, which I talked about just now. It has really made me try and embrace things and just say yes to more stuff and so on, and just go, do you know what, voice, you might be right, but I'm going to try and prove you wrong.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I don't think it will ever go away, though.
That might be a good thing.
It could be a good thing. I'm trying to make it a good thing. It's part of who I am, so.
Exactly. Well, I asked you this last year, and I do have to ask again, and I'm sure you'll have some other great piece of advice. If there's one piece of advice that you could share with all of us that helps guide you through your life, what would it be?
So in the workplace, actually, two bits of advice which are interlinked, which have been told to me for quite a long time by somebody a very wise man, who I consider very privileged to have as a mentor, which is work for someone that you admire and work for a business that is best equipped for change. And if you do those two things, doesn't matter the size or the scale of the business or what sector it's in, if you do those two things, that environment, I think, will allow you to thrive, and that's all you should be seeking.
Perfect. Pippa, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for having me. It's a great privilege to be here again.
Thank you. And thank you.